Hey, it's Pastor James again from Saddlebrook neighborhood. Again, in case you missed other videos, we are filming on location in different neighborhoods around the county and the city just to give you a reminder visually that when we're talking about this neighbor focus in this online devotional series, we're talking about your neighbors, like your real neighbors living in your neighborhoods, like the neighborhood of Saddlebrook and other neighborhoods that we're going to be filming in. We want you to think about and to pray about and to endeavor to be a good neighbor to those people who live right around you. This is not a hypothetical thing. It's not a conceptual thing about loving in concept. It's about loving and being a good neighbor in the very practical reality of connecting with people around you. As you're thinking about what it means to be a good neighbor, I would encourage you to consider one of the great stories of the Old Testament. A lot of people don't know about it, but it's a great story. It's a story of Elisha, the prophet. It comes from 2 Kings, and there is a widow who had 2 children that came to Elisha in despair because when her husband died, they had debt, and the debtors were coming, can you imagine, to take her children away and to sell them into slavery to repay the debt. I mean, what a horrible circumstance that was for this widow, and she came desperate to Elisha and said, "Help me, I have no way of keeping my children from being taken away and sold into slavery." And Elisha said to her, "Well, what do you have in your house?" And she said, "I have 1 jar of oil." And so he said, "Here's what I want you to do. Take that jar and go grab all the other jars you can. Get them from your neighbors, get as many jars as you can, and go into your house and begin to fill those jars with oil." And she did that, and the oil never stopped. It's a foreshadowing of that story of Jesus when he was feeding the 5,000 and the bread and the fish that just kept multiplying. But Elisha was integral into being God's agent to help her have this miracle of the multiplying of oil. And then she took that oil and sold it and was able to provide for her house and able to protect her children from being sold into slavery and to pay that debt. It's a great picture of the power of God to use people to help others who are in desperate situations. And we have the ability to do that. I don't know if I could multiply oil for my neighbor, but I know that I have plenty of resources in which I could help a neighbor that I saw in need. How are the people around you doing? What is it that you can do for them? How can we step into that need? I would encourage you to consider that. And I love that people always ask one another, if there's something I can do for you, just let me know. Well, rarely, I think, do we take people up on that offer. Instead, I would encourage you to suggest ideas. Look at their life and decide what's going on. My neighbor was having prostate surgery, and I'm not sure what I could do for him, but I know I could cut his grass. I'm really good at that. And so I said, in your recovery, let me cut your grass. And we worked out a deal on making sure his grass got cut. Practical ways. Think about what you can do for your neighbor who may be in need, and whatever it is, do your best to respond to that. Why? Because that is the pattern of God's love for us. And when he says, love me and love your neighbor, I think he's saying to us, love in the way that I've loved you. And I hope you give that a consideration. Practical way to love your neighbor.